A nurse ignored a pregnant black woman in the midst of labor, unaware that her husband was the owner of the hospital. Now, the consequences will be unexpected. Don't miss the next few minutes of this story that will tug at your emotions. And don't forget, subscribe to the channel and let us know in the comments where you're watching from. It was a cold afternoon in New York and St. Mary's Hospital was bustling. The emergency room was crowded with patients waiting for care. Among them was Maria Johnson, a pregnant black woman in a wheelchair, clutching her belly in pain. She had come alone as her husband, James, was tied up in a meeting. Maria scanned the room for assistance and finally spotted a stern-looking nurse behind the counter. "Please," Maria said, her voice trembling. "I'm in labor. The pain is intense." Nurse Linda glanced up with an impatient expression. "Ma'am, fill out the form and wait. We're very busy today." "But I think something is wrong. I'm James Johnson's wife, one of the hospital's investors," Maria tried to explain, holding back tears. Linda scoffed, her skepticism evident. "Everyone here thinks they know someone important," she muttered. "Ma'am, take a seat and wait your turn." Maria, feeling the pain intensify, tried to stay calm, but her desperation grew. She called Linda again, this time with more urgency. "Please, something's really wrong," Maria said, her breath labored. "My husband is James Johnson. Please call him." Linda crossed her arms, looking at Maria with disdain. "Listen here," she said coldly. "It doesn't matter who you claim to be or who you're married to. You people always think you can come in here and get special treatment by shouting the loudest. Here, you wait like everyone else." Maria was stunned, feeling the hostility in Linda's words. Before she could respond, Linda added with even more contempt. "By the way," Linda said, pointing to another woman approaching, a white woman, visibly less distressed. "This lady needs the wheelchair more than you. You can wait standing or on the floor, like everyone else." Maria stared at Linda in disbelief. "You're asking me to get out of the wheelchair? I'm in labor." "Yes, you heard me," Linda replied without empathy. "Get up and let someone who really needs it have the chair." Other patients whispered, shocked by what they saw, but no one intervened. Feeling helpless and humiliated, Maria tried to stand, her legs shaking with pain and weakness. With no choice, Maria grabbed her phone, her hands trembling, and called James, her voice heavy with pain and anger. "James, please come quickly," Maria pleaded, almost in tears. "They're making me stand. They're not listening." "I'm on my way," James said, his voice filled with determination. "I'll be there in minutes." As Maria waited, the pain became nearly unbearable. James arrived at the hospital a few minutes later, rushing in with visible concern. He saw Maria sitting on the floor, leaning against the wall, struggling to breathe. "Maria," he exclaimed, running to her side. "Why are you on the floor? What happened?" With tears in her eyes, Maria looked at him. She made me give up the chair," she said, gasping. "Said someone else needed it more. I couldn't stand." James turned, his eyes locking onto Linda at the counter. He helped Maria into a nearby chair before walking firmly toward Linda. "Are you Linda?" he asked, his tone calm but unwavering. "Yes, I am," Linda replied, now slightly uneasy under his intense gaze. "I'm James Johnson, an investor in this hospital. I want to know why my wife in labor was forced out of a chair and left to sit on the floor," he said, his voice controlled but full of authority. Linda stammered. "Sir, I didn't realize. I thought she was exaggerating. I assumed." "Assumed what?" James interrupted, his tone now sharper. "You left my pregnant wife on the floor? That's medical negligence and blatant racism." Staff began gathering, sensing the gravity of the situation. James demanded to speak with the hospital administrator immediately. Within minutes, Dr. Emily Harper arrived, clearly concerned. "James, what's going on?" Dr. Harper asked, looking from James to Maria, who was visibly uncomfortable in the chair. "What's going on?" James began, pointing at Linda. "Is that this nurse ignored my wife in labor and forced her out of a chair for another woman. She left my wife on the floor in increasing pain." Dr. Harper was shocked. "Linda, is this true?" Linda, pale and fumbling for words, nodded nervously. I thought she was exaggerating, just trying to get attention." "Attention?" James erupted, maintaining his composure. "My wife nearly lost our baby because of your negligence and prejudice. This isn't just misconduct, it's inhumane." Dr. Harper nodded, visibly shaken by the situation. "James, Maria will be treated immediately. And Linda, An investigation will start right away, and you are suspended effective immediately." "Suspended?" James questioned, glaring at Dr. Harper. "She needs to be fired. My wife was humiliated and put in danger because of her." "She will be dismissed once the investigation concludes," Dr. Harper assured. "This behavior is unacceptable, and we will take appropriate action." Maria was quickly taken to a delivery room and finally received the care she needed. Hours later, she gave birth to a healthy baby girl. James stayed by her side the entire time, but the weight of what had happened still loomed over them. "James," Maria said, holding their daughter, "this can't happen to anyone else. What that nurse did, it was cruel." "I know," James replied, gently stroking Maria's hair. "She will be held accountable, and I'll make sure this hospital learns from this." Days later, the hospital issued an official statement detailing Linda's dismissal and the launch of an investigation to review care practices and retrain all staff on ethics and patient empathy. James was invited to lead a committee overseeing these changes. In a meeting with the administration and staff, he spoke directly about what happened to Maria. "My wife was forced to sit on the floor while in labor," he said, looking around the room. "This wasn't just a failure in care. It was a moral failure. And it stops here." Maria, now recovering at home, knew her experience would bring change. As she held her daughter, she felt the importance of ensuring the world her child grew up in would be fairer and more compassionate. "James," she said, looking at him as he cradled their daughter, "promise me you'll keep fighting, not just for us but for every woman who might face this." "I promise," James replied. "We won't let this happen again." James leaves the hospital after another meeting, determined to ensure that St. Mary's becomes a symbol of equal and respectful care. Felt the impact of this story? If you believe everyone deserves respect, subscribe and join us in giving voice to stories that truly matter.